The Titanic of Ravana's initiated disciples, International Sri Krishna Mandir, collided with an iceberg. We will touch on this allegory at the end of the video, but for now, in essence, after the release of the 6th series exposing the dangerous scam, which cited the suspicion that the leader of the ISKM was not indeed initiated by Prabhupada, the Russian Society, the representative office of the ISKM, posted in their group in contact the following so-called evidences: Sundar Gopal Prabhu receiving initiation from Prabhupada. Here they show us, here are the records that Sundar Gopal was initiated. Here are the facts, look at them. What seems to be the problem? Yes, indeed, we read Sundar Gopal, free, 77 Los Angeles, we read in the Veda base, the same thing. Well, you can finish the video. Everyone figured it out.
What exactly is the claim? However, in conjunction with the discovered evidence and documents, it turns out an incident and a lot of inconsistencies. It needs to be clarified. The flowchart of how initiations from Prabhupada were conducted using a representative before the July 9th letter is released. The president of the temple actually was the local representative of Prabhupada, watching the disciples and congregants in his temple for 6 months or a year. Then he recommended the new devotees, or congregants of his temple, to Prabhupada. To do this, he wrote him a letter with recommendations and karmi names of the devotees. Prabhupada would read this letter and gave spiritual names to these devotees and posted the letter back to the temple president. The temple president performed the fire sacrifice, chanted on beads and passed it to a disciple. The disciple had to be present on yagya.
Letter 2, Jennifer, Mexico City, 15 February, 1975-75-02, 15 San Francisco.
Regarding initiation, it is required that you be recommended by one of our temple presidents to me, and then I shall consider it. First of all, one must have followed the regulative principle for at least 6 months without deviation. It is not necessarily required to live in the temple, but you must observe the rules. I hope this meets you in good health. Your ever well-wisher, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Then a reasonable question arises, whose entry is this in Prabhupada's book? If we turn to the Veda base, we see the record Sundar Gopal Das is in the database. Yes, it is there.
We made a request to the devotees who moderate the Veda base about the karmic names of those who were initiated in March 77, and received the answer that this is Sundar Gopal from Singapore, is under the record of March 77 of Los Angeles, and his karmic name is Govindasamasundar.
Well, everything, actually what are the problems? We finish the video and leave. The record is his, yes it is. It's in the Prabhupada's disciples' book, yes it is. A fact is a fact. Okay, let's finish the video, stay tuned, thank you all for watching, everybody can go away.
Where is your evidence?
Well, what's wrong with all this? What claims to Sundar Gopal Prabhu? And the claims in fact are the circumstance that was once used as proof of the initiation of Sundar Gopal and later the addition of his name to the book of Prabhupada's initiated disciples. It played a cruel joke, and now it is the main evidence that his so-called initiation is a fake. Namely the letter of initiation itself, which is posted in the biography of Sundar Gopal on the ISKM site. Let's take a look at this letter. This letter is like the Americans flying to the moon. It seems that there is a fact of flight, but when you start to delve into the details, numerous inconsistencies arise. Here is the letter. What immediately catches the eye is that there is no date in the letter. The letter says that 2 people were initiated. They are Sundar Gopal Prabhu and his brother Gauraraja Prabhu. They were initiated in India by Prabhupada. The author of the letter is Nalinakanta Prabhu. Moreover, in the Veda base there are references to both brothers. For example, yes, everything seems to be legal. Here is one brother, here is the second. This entry is from the year 80, when his brother's name is given as Gauraraja Das. But here's a puzzle. Nalinikanta Prabhu says that he didn't write this letter. But the signature on the second page is his. How could that be? How? Where is your evidence? What does Nalinikanta Prabhu say about this letter? Prabhu and Mataji. PAMHO, all glory to Srila Prabhupada. This was over 40 years ago and I don't at all remember the incident. I can say that the signature is mine, but the language on the first page is not the way I write. I personally didn't know that Prabhupada's health was desperate until October-November of 1977, and I certainly don't think he was near death, nor do I use terms such as Nirvikalpa Samadhi as given on page 1. So I cannot verify, although I possibly remember sending some names to Srila Prabhupada's servant for initiation. Whether it was Sundar Gopal Prabhu or not, I cannot say. It is strange that there is no date on page 1. Nor did I go to India in 1977. But in 1975 and 76 I was there, but that was before His Divine Grace's serious illness. I apologize if my memory does not serve me properly. But I do not remember at all talking or writing about Srila Prabhupada's impending to Nirvikalpa. Whatever it means. Nalini. Let's try to figure it out. On the one hand, we have the statements of Nalinikanta Prabhu, who says that the signature on page 2 is his, but he did not write the text on page 1. On the other hand, there is a statement by Sundar Gopal Prabhu who says that this is a genuine letter. Or maybe malicious talk will say that this letter is made up of different letters. And the font on the first page and on the second page is printed by different typewriters. It may or may not be. The fact is that in the distant 80s of the last century, technologies did not allow you to immediately determine the identity of the fonts on both pages. Although of course if desired it could be determined. Taking a magnifying glass. But as a rule ISKCON devotees took each other's word for it, and no one even thought of not trusting a person who says that he was initiated by Prabhupada. However, in the 21st century, with the availability of modern computer programs for image processing, it is easy to establish the identity of fonts. To do this, we open Photoshop, open one page of the letter. We open the second page, laying one on top of the other. We combine similar phrases and voila! We see small barely noticeable differences in the fonts of the first and second pages. This allows us to conclude that the letter is fake. And so Nalinikanta Prabhu is right. That he did not write this letter. But the question remains. If the letter is fake, how then did the initiation records of Sundar Gopal end up in the book of Prabhupada's initiated disciples? Indeed, back in 77, there was no ISKCON temple in Singapore. And Prabhupada's foot never set foot on the land of Singapore. Bhima Prabhu, one of the first devotees who came to Singapore at the end of the year 78 by the order of his guru Hansadudi Swami. At the end of the 78th he met Sundar Gopal, and was surprised that he claimed to be a disciple of Prabhupada. This immediately aroused Bhima's suspicion. Because he knew there had been no ISKCON temple in Singapore. And Sundar Gopal could not be initiated. Since a prerequisite for receiving initiation was attendance by a devotee of temple programs, and the presence of a curator who watched you for at least 6 months. Then he began to ask Sundar Gopal whom he had been communicating with and who was his curator who recommended him for initiation. To which Sundar Gopal only replied that he was in contact with Los Angeles after he had purchased a copy of the Back to Godhead magazine, where he saw the address and telephone number of the temple in Los Angeles. Which immediately aroused suspicion, because without a curator it was not possible to receive initiation. But how the hell did Sundar Gopal's name end up in Prabhupada's Book of Initiated Disciples? The following is a narration from Bhima Prabhu, who has been appointed as a demon by the ISKM Society for his inability to remain silent. Regarding your question on Gaurananda Dasa and Sundar Gopal, appear in the Black Book later on. Your question how he managed to place these two names in the Black Book is rather simple. He was immediately brought into Tamil Krishna's care when he started visiting India around 83 and 84.
Pura Purnima, it wasn't his first visit to India. First was when the two brothers had their Brahmin Fred in 79, and later when his brother was in prison in Calcutta around 80 and 81. So by 84 and 85, Tamil brought him to Houston. Spending almost a year in Tamil's zone, he got the opportunity to let the Secretary of Tamil Krishna know that his name was not listed in the Black Book, among many other devotees.
So all he had to do was mention his initiation was through Los Angeles 1977, although the name was spelled with an A in the Sundara, and for his brother was listed as Gaurananda, 377 Singapore. Notice, the two handwriting were different because it was entered by different persons in Tamil Krishna's zone at different times dictated by him. Yes, why he deliberately tell the secretary a different name for his brother instead of Gauraraja is an interesting thing. Because he and his brother had planned to make a lot of money by buying silver in India, very cheap in India at the time, and sell in Singapore or Thailand with fake US dollars, which they purchased in Bangkok, some $30,000 at the time. But after purchasing the silver, the brother was caught and put in prison. His brother's passport legal name was Raya So Govindasamy and initiated name was Gauraraja Das at the time. Sundar Gopal was in constant discussions with the police and judge to negotiate a large amount of cash in dollars for his illegal release without his passport returned to him, so they can fake his death in India, so they had to pay more money to get an Indian identity and documents to return to Singapore through Thailand and Malaysia. Both of them refused to tell anyone of this adventure. And his brother left the movement for good till this day, to join the Singapore Air Force. Later his brother associates with Gaudiya Math God Brothers of Srila Prabhupada's group. He never associate with his brother as ISKCON, since no one never ever hear of Gauraraja from him or his family again, although Gauraraja and his wife visited me in our Singapore center once and the occasional meetings during non-ISKCON Camp Hyajans. So, for this reasons, he decided to get the secretary to list a different name Gaurananda, but with Singapore 377 in the Black Book, while he was right there in Tamil Krishna's zone. The typed and listed names of initiated disciples of Srila Prabhupada were later added from the handwritten book. I don't know if you can Google this in the news, from the old newspapers in India on Radha So Govindasamy smuggling silver or bought with fake US dollars, or Hare Krishna devotee caught buying silver with fake US dollars in Calcutta between 80-81. You have to understand that not everyone reports their initiations around the world immediately, and when information is received, the Secretary of Tamil Krishna would first enter into the handwritten Black Book and later retyped in a separate book. This Sundar is a fraud from the start, with his fake letter from Nalini Kant, who insisted it was not his style of writing. In fact, it is not an American way of expression by a Singaporean Indian.
Another possibility is when Sundar Gopal gave his name to the keepers of the Black Book in Tamil Krishna's zone. He gave his brother's name deliberately, different on different days, after his agreement with the jailers, that he doesn't appear in India again, and also, since his brother was already in the Singapore Air Force, it would put his job in jeopardy.
Developing the allegory with the Titanic. It can be said that those who have taken a refuge in the ISKCON Sri Krishna Mandir Society, these are the passengers of the Titanic. Titanic is a monument to human pride, vanity, and duplicity. And according to the divine will, he is doomed to come across an iceberg of the truth. Thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned. Hare Krishna.